By the term Captain America, we are talking about the most iconic Marvel hero of all time. In all of the Marvel comic books, you will see that Cap is an interesting character known as a hero of great power and with a soft heart. In addition, he is known to sacrifice anything to save others, making him one of the greatest Marvel heroes ever. From progressing forfeited in time to sacrificing close friends, he is being settled through countless crucibles, constantly becoming a better man for it. Still, some catastrophes in his life are impossible to overlook, but things aren't always like this in all the stories, and that's why we are here to talk about those terrible moments with Captain America. So here are the 10 worst things that have ever happened to Captain America in Marvel Comics. Number 10. Losing Bucky Barnes. Though Steven Rogers withstood the goal to halt an invasion by Baron Zemo, his colleague Bucky Barnes was not so fortunate. A bomb was seeded along the way which erupted when Bucky got too near. Despite his sobs of telling, Rogers could do nothing but stare as his colleague perished before his very eyes. The demise of Bucky Barnes was an extraordinary case in the comic narrative, as it evolved into one of the few casualties to stay durable for decades. It wasn't until 2005, almost 60 years after the Identity actual death, and he was introduced to Winter Soldier. As an outcome of Barnes' halted return, Rogers was abandoned to grieve for the death of his colleague for decades. Number 9. A battle with the Winter Soldier. James Buchanan Barnes, also referred to as Bucky, was Captain America's nearest colleague during World War II, battling alongside him as a subsidiary before his untimely casualty coming upon the verge of the war. Bucky's demise was unlocked decades later by the startling disclosure that he had seized on the cape of the Winter Soldier. When the Winter Soldier eventually arose in 2005, Captain America put up with finding hard. Under ordinary situations, he would have been overjoyed to have his colleague back. Yet it is disclosed that Bucky's Winter Soldier was not on the side of the patrons, forcing Cap and his old colleague into war for some time before the latter's redemption. Number 8. Losing the Avengers. Many comic edition enthusiasts understand the peaceful competition between Cap and Iron Man, two of the Avengers Foundation partners. Still, this friendly dispute whirled bitterly into Mark Millar's Civil War storyline in 2006, which depicts the Avengers split unfriendly over the topic of superhero enrollment, with Cap and Iron Man overseeing the opposing sides. The storyline saw Cap tag a rioter and a criminal, compelling him to conceal America's captain saw the only home he had left broken apart, and terrible was the one to collect most of the burden. Readers can see Rogers starting to injure throughout the Civil War, enabling his feelings to ride his rulings, until it is nearly too overdue to settle a halt to the turmoil. The readers were certainly disappointed when they could not see the Avengers assemble. Number 7. Physically aging with time. The evolution of Captain America is an outcome of the super soldier's serum running through his veins. Unfortunately, he doesn't realize the consequences of aging as a normal human would. Still, after a war with the Iron Nail, the serum seeped into Steve's body, resulting in his years to share with him and his body quickly aging into an aged man. With years robbed from him permanently, Rogers became incapable of being the idol he once was, enacting the title to Sam Wilson. Still, Steve demonstrated that he was more than just a super fighter, going on to protect lives through a role at S.H.I.E.L.D. for some time. Number 6. Castaway In Dimension Z. In a heartfelt but weird marvel happened to Captain America in Marvel Comics storyline, the Star-Spangled Man is entangled in a bag by his enemy Arnim Zola for over a decade, where he discovers himself looking after a fresh boy whom he names Ian. Wait, are you a big fan of comics? Then watch our video 8 Daredevil comics you should read if you haven't already to know such comics and keep your love for the comics alive. Anyway, so naturally Rogers cares for the lad while tangled, but stuff comes to an awful end just before the idol is released from the Upside Down extent. Castaway In Dimension Z is a thrilling and unusual article of Captain America lore, with gut-wrenching bends and turns to contemplate the character's withdrawals as well as the final parentage of Ian. A tale rife with excitement, this sequel of circumstances almost smashed America's captain. Number 5. The Secret Empire of Captain America. The Secret War story is considered one of the favorable Captain America tales from the 1970s. Having nothing to do with the Secret Wars of New Year, this tale saw Captain America reveal an enormous fraud behind the administration of the United States that got so high that it is indicated that even the US president was a partner of this gloomy association. A man who is nearly compatible with the nation he battles for, Captain America is generally distraught by these disclosures, deducing that everything he battled for under his superhero cape was a fraud from the outset. As an outcome, Rogers shockingly relinquishes the crown of Captain America and retires to the Avengers. Number 4. Losing all his possessions. After being frozen in ice for various decades, Captain America has rare remaining links to his last life. With many of his nearest confidants from the 1940s gone, it was just in images and pendants that he could really recall them. Unfortunately, all this was demolished when Baron Zemo assaulted the Avengers in the Avengers Under Siege storyline, wreaking devastation on the palace and eradicating whatever antiques Cap had left. The devastation of Captain America's properties is originally framed as a small loss until the war is stopped. Once the danger is neutralized, Cap confides in Monica Rambeau just how much it encompassed him. This serves to remind the audience of the idol's compassion. Even despite the brilliant costume and superpowers, Steven Rogers is a man who has endured more than the maximum in his life. Number 3. Got assassinated. Though Marvel's Civil War crossover was a highly questionable incident among enthusiasts, many concede that the occurring Captain America Death and Fallen Son arcs are few of the best Captain America tales of the 2000s. Captain America must rely on his litigations during the Civil War, unaware that the troops are in the game to slash his life short. This back-to-back comic edition incident sees Agent 13, the friend and sometime lover of Steve Rogers, killing him after being fascinated to do so by Dr. Fastus and the Red Skull. Naturally, feelings are elevated after the hero's demise, with the responses of differing superheroes being caught in each question of the 5-part Fallen Son storyline, ending in a weepy burial for the fallen idol. Number 2. Going into the ice. Captain America first existed in Marvel Comics in 1941 as a super fighter battling for the Allies during the Second World War. Still, the character's lasting comic book was abolished in the 1950s, with America's special hero apparently relinquishing his life while attempting to halt an attack by Baron Zemo. In an Advent tale made well known by Captain America, the First Avenger, Steven Rogers is indicated to have withstood his battle with death, serving entombed in ice until the Avengers found him out in the 1960s. Though the superhero endured, the world was unusual from the one he departed, with those he was nearest to dead and gone by the time he woke up. This sequel received Captain Rogers' tragically true title, Man Out of Time. Number 1. Witnessing the 9/11 terrorist attacks. As the term indicates, Captain America continues the American path, evolving into a reminder of the country's objectives. He is indicated to respect the country whose name he assumes deeply and to be deeply miserable when the country is damaged. Such was the litigation after the awful circumstances of the September 11 terrorist assaults, where, as the nation was swiveling, distinct comic writers seized it upon themselves to deal with the problem. Captain America gives rise to an influential cameo in J. Michael Straczynski's post-9/11 tribute topic of The Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man stares at Rogers, whose face is tragic and raw. The statements that the World War II master had noticed such horrors twice in his life, also pertaining to the Pearl Harbor attack in 1941. So these were the 10 worst things that have ever happened to Captain America in Marvel Comics. What did you think about the video? Let us know in the comment section below. And to get more uploads like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more.